Good morning, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Good afternoon to you. Almost evening now.
Yeah, it's a 5 p.m. actually,
Okay.
and nowadays it's Ramadan month, so really caught up and very limited time frame actually to work. So,
Wow.
welcome to my
Well,
podcast.
Ramadan
This is
Mubarak to
Siddharth
you.
from the Recruiters, and we're a team of recruitment consultants. Our podcast focus on amazing individuals and business personalities doing phenomenal work in their respective fields.
Okay.
So, guys, today we have a very amazing guest with us. He has obtained PhD in psychology from Capella University and an MBA from Boston University and a certificate of management excellence from Harvard Business School. He is currently serving as a godfather and vice president of talent optimization at Predictive Index PI. Also, he has 25 years of proven leadership expertise as a software executive and a consultant, and also a US Marine as well.
That's right.
And he's also the author of the Expand the Circle, Enlightened Leadership for Our New World of Work. So, welcome to our podcast, Matt Poepsel, the one and only co-founder of Predictive Index. So, thank you for accepting our invitation, sir.
Thank you so much for having me, Obidullah. I really appreciate it.
So, Matt, can you tell us about your journey from US Marine to the vice president of PI, actually, one of the leading brands as far as talent optimization is concerned?
Yeah, I'll keep it pretty brief, but my first real adult job was in the service, as you pointed out, in the Marine Corps. And I remember on the very first day, they jammed a book of leadership principles in my hand, and I thought this was really great. I really enjoyed the focus on expertise and performance and personal development. After about 6 years, I decided to get out. And when I went into the civilian world, I was ready for more leadership training. And I was told that we don't really do those things the same way that we had done in the military before. So I had gone to Boston University, as you mentioned, to study business and technology and took my first civilian job when it came to being a software product manager. And I just really couldn't get away from how much I loved leadership and coaching and professional development and career pathing and all these things. So that's what led me to get my PhD and study it at the highest levels. And then I made the shift over to the predictive index in 2013, over 10 years ago, where today, I do all kinds of thought leadership and education and evangelizing all the great work that PI does.
Okay, great. In this new world of work, how to attract talent actually?
Yeah.
Because it's a battle going on out there actually
Yeah.
for
Things
the
really,
hunt of good talent.
It's so true. And so many things have changed even within the last 3 years. When you look at the macro economy, for example, certainly in the United States and in other parts of the world, we're seeing a tremendous talent shortage when it comes to the skills that we need most, the things that are going to propel our businesses forward. We just don't have
Okay.
enough people who are actively looking or ready to make a move or who are coming into the workforce to suit all that need. So attracting
Okay.
talent is already difficult because there's just so few people relative to how many jobs that we have that we need to have filled. And so that's one example. But the nature of the worker themselves has changed too. In the
Okay.
post-pandemic world, what we find is that people want more than just a paycheck. They want to have a
Absolutely.
sense of belonging. They want to have strong social ties with their coworkers. They want to have coaching and development, mentorship, and they want to have meaning and purpose in their lives. So they're making choices a lot differently than what we saw in the past. So there's this humanistic bent toward talent acquisition now. And the last thing I'll say, and depending on your industry, when there was such a massive shift to hybrid and remote work, that meant that the competition wasn't just in your local town or community, it was from all over the world. So all this
Okay.
means is that as employers, we have to really up our game when it comes to the offers that we're putting out to people, the employer branding, sometimes we call it, the level of
Okay.
attractiveness of our opportunities. That's all very new.
Okay. Okay. Can you please elaborate how PI predictive index is adding value in HR actually in
Yeah.
talent optimization?
Yeah. So even though we have a relative shortage of candidates, we want to make sure that we select the right people for the job. It is completely devastating when we make a poor hire. It's really
Okay,
difficult
absolutely.
when we put the wrong person on the team, all of a sudden the teammates are frustrated, perhaps the individual's frustrated, the manager's frustrated. The performance isn't there, the level of engagement goes down. So lots of terrible things happen. But how much can we really glean about someone from their resume alone? How much can we really glean in the interviews that we conduct? So the predictive index is a 6-minute behavioral assessment that allows us to capture an
Six
individual.
minutes.
6 minutes, that's all. Very brief.
Only.
Very brief.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very
and
good.
it really tells us a lot about the individual's motivating needs. What types of work do they most enjoy and therefore will be most likely to be successful at? And so what we want to do is make sure we match people to the job. We want to match people to the strategy of the team. We want to assimilate them into the team as quickly as possible. So if I knew your behavioral profile, I could provide coaching, I could provide information to your new teammates, for example, about how to help you come on board as quickly as possible. And this is really the newest area for PI, is all of the post-hire work as well. How do we make sure we have effective teamwork? How do we have effective peer relations? How do we have the highest levels of organizational employee engagement? These types of things as well.
Perfect. Perfect. The biggest hurdle for any CHRO or the head of HR function is to get on the board, actually. That's the biggest hurdle. So, in your opinion, how CHRO can demonstrate the true value of human resources
Yeah, one of
to
the
the
things that
management?
I find that the most important thing is to really understand the strategy, to follow the money, I like to say. When the organization,
Okay.
for example, if it's a for-profit or if it's a nonprofit, it has equivalent goals. What are we trying to accomplish as a business? How do we bring value, and how do we create value and bring value into the organization? I find that the best thing a CHRO can do is speak in the language of the board, speak in the language of the
Absolutely.
CEO,
Yeah.
right? Those things
Yeah.
are critically important. Once you understand and you've done that type of an interview, you can articulate the people dynamics that are dependent on those strategies or that are driving those strategies. Now, all of a sudden, we can start to show those people matters in the context of the business. So as an example,
Okay.
if I know the strategy of the firm and I can show where the team, the executive team, is a natural alignment, but also areas where there might be gaps, where we might be
Okay.
highly innovative, but that could actually hurt potential outcomes around scalability, efficiency, and quality. So at that point, now all of a sudden we have hard data in the form of people dynamics that has business relevance. That's what my biggest, strongest recommendation is for CHROs.
Perfect. You've also written a book, Expand the Circle.
Yes.
Can you please elaborate what the book is all about?
Yeah, the book really came from my own experience in going through the post-pandemic, falling out of this sort of love affair with work and trying to ask the big questions in life. And I'm a meditator. I like to meditate every morning. And so as I was sitting there in meditation, I started to draw connections between Eastern philosophy and Western leadership. And the notion of expand the circle really was inspired by that meditation practice. But in the form of leadership that I espouse, I say that you have to learn to lead yourself before you can lead others. So once you lead yourself, can you expand that circle out to leading others, leading your team, leading your organization, and finally, leading out into the world? And it was really this observation that while the world of work has changed so dramatically, our leadership approach really hasn't. We're still using techniques from the 1950s and 60s, and it's
Yeah,
not
the old
working.
ones.
It's just not
Yeah.
working. So we have to enlighten our approach in the sense that we have to cast off these outdated beliefs and notions, and we'll find that the future of work is much more human. It's much more distinctly speaking to those things we talked about earlier, what I call the 3 killer bees: being, belonging, something bigger than myself. When we don't
Yeah.
have those needs met, it kills our performance, our productivity, our intent to stay, everything like that.
Perfect. Perfect. In your opinion, how to create leader in every level of the organization?
Yeah, I think that it's
What
so
is the
critical.
best way?
Such a great call out by you. I feel like when we talk about leadership, a lot of people, they bristle at the term, oh, I'm not a leader. I'm an individual contributor. No, you're still a leader. You lead your projects, you comport yourself. There's ways that every individual in the organization should consider themselves to be a leader, in my opinion. The way to provide that leadership at every level is to look at the programmatic ways, meaning what is the company providing in terms of leadership development programs? Yes, but also go to the team leaders. How are you specifically developing the leadership capabilities and capacity of your team? And then go to the individual. What efforts are you making on your own for self-study, for reflection, for practice? Every one of those elements surrounds the individual with leadership opportunities. Where those opportunities exist, we need people to be accountable for demonstrating the types of leadership performance and trajectory over time so they can get better and better at it.
Perfect, perfect. Nowadays, especially in the tech market, there is an indefinite talent shortage. So, in your opinion, is like tech industry and any other industry where talent is really short. So, how to fix that particular problem?
Yeah, there's no fixing the
How to
talent
ensure the
shortage.
supply?
Yeah, I think we can't fix the supply side, because what happened was that as baby boomers have continued to age out of the workforce, the Gen Z populations are much smaller. There's a lot of people who are withholding from the workforce or who are turning to alternatives like gig work. So maybe they're Amazon drivers or DoorDash or whatever it might be. So the workforce supply side of the talent shortage isn't going away anytime soon, especially for very skilled and in-demand roles. So what that means is
Okay,
that as employers, we have to make ourselves as attractive as possible. We have to be very transparent, for example, with our organizational values, with our mission,
okay,
trying to show the
okay,
purpose that we have. We have to make sure that during the interview process, hiring managers can speak specifically to the types of coaching and development they've provided their other team members that the candidate might want to benefit from if they choose that company. So we have to make sure that we're doing all the things to meet the new range of needs that candidates are presenting with if we're going to try to get the top talent that we really need.
okay. Matt, if your supervisor or boss is scared that if I develop my successor, I lost my seat, lost my title and position, what will you do?
I'd say that that's your
That's the basic
job.
mindset, actually,
It is a mindset,
especially
and
in majority of the organizations.
it's very true. It's very true. But I think what we have to remember is that there are four key activities for any leader. We have to deliver
Okay,
results, we have to engage our workforce, we have to encourage well-being, and we have to develop future leaders. Those are the four things that
okay,
every leader must do. That fourth one is hard. If
okay,
I develop a future leader, am I putting myself out of work? Well, the reality is that so much of what holds organizations back is fear. That type of fear is actually restrictive. Nothing good comes of it. So we have to face our fears, and we have to recognize that we only become scalable when we start to let others take on more of the responsibility. And then we can get to the strategic planning. We can get to those things we've always wanted to do to create even higher levels of value for the business. But if we only act in a managerial capacity and we don't step into the full mantle of our leadership, we're not creating maximum value, and we're probably going to get replaced anyway. So we need to make sure that we do all four of the things that leaders must do without fear, and try to understand, where's this fear coming from? Why do I feel like I'm going to be replaced? Am I not clear on the higher level value I can add? Do I need to spend some time with the CEO and understand where my opportunity is to go further? Or is it that that's scary to me? I don't have those skills yet. Well, how can I develop those skills now while still in a managerial capacity so I can step into that next opportunity?
perfect. What are the key elements of an enlightened workplace?
Well, the first is mindfulness. I think so many times we're on autopilot. We're just reacting in the moment. We're acting out of habit. So the first thing I say is hit that pause button and let's take a more mindful approach. Let's calm down. The second is compassion. I think that we've seen this demand for empathetic leadership, for more altruistic styles, and really understanding that people have been through a lot. They're going through a lot now. We've never seen this level of isolation and loneliness when it comes to our remote workers. We've never seen this level of mental health challenge when it comes to workers who are juggling and still processing all of the change that we're going through. So compassion is one. And then I think wisdom, understanding that everything changes. So many times we want to keep things exactly as they are. That's not natural. That's not what's going to happen. Business will evolve. We must evolve too. But the most important one is when it comes to self-interest. We have to really minimize this focus on what's in it for me, and remember that leadership isn't about you. It's about the people around you, and it's about the mission. How can we turn up the focus on those things, reduce the emphasis we put on ourselves all the time, like the example you shared? I'm afraid that if I give authority and autonomy, then I'm going to not have a job for myself.
I lost my
That's
job. I lost
that's
my title.
that's
Yeah,
totally self-oriented thinking, as opposed to
yeah.
if we drive the mission higher and we ensure the well-being and the growth of those around us, that's what leadership is. That's an enlightened form of leadership.
Okay. So can you highlight some major factors which contributes in the well-being of our employees? For a SME or the mid-sized organization who doesn't have so much budgets for
Yeah.
the employee well-being, what measures they can implement to develop the enlightened workplace
Yes.
and to take care of the well-being of their employees? That's the biggest question.
Yeah, two things that we can do for free. One is to actually talk about this, have a conversation, talk about the importance of well-being, talk about how there's a combination of physical well-being, yes, but also mental well-being, financial well-being, social and relationship well-being, even spiritual well-being. Let's have a conversation about what well-being is and why it's important at work. The second is lead by example. If I tell my team, hey, team, next Friday, I'm going to take a day off because I've been going at it pretty hard. I've been working, a little harder than normal, a little bit of late nights, working on a big project that just shipped, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. But I need a day for myself. So I'm going to do that. So if you have anything, just let me know ahead of time. That's leading by example. That's saying that I'm bringing some balance or bringing some well-being into my life. Then they're going to be more confident to do it on their own. Or even just to be transparent and vulnerable and say, I'm really struggling right now. Is there anybody can help me with this one thing? It would really take something off my plate, and I really appreciate it. That type of vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of humility. It's a sign of being human. It's going to draw others out to pursue their own willingness to ask for help. And so I think that all those three things that I just shared are completely free, and there's no reason that we shouldn't be doing them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Last and final question. What is your final piece of advice for new aspiring HR people who wants to join the field of human resources?
Yeah, I think there's never been a better time, but recognize that the nature of human resources is changing and transitioning. I like to say that we're making the shift from human resources to human potential. There's an aspect of HR that's very much about compliance, that's very much about transactional elements of HR. And those things are really going away. They're being given to algorithms. They're being outsourced. They're just not seen as valuable.
Operational HR.
Yeah, traditional HR is going to eventually evolve out of the HR field. However, there's a strategic, there's a coaching approach, there's a consultative side of HR. The shift towards helping every employee, every team, every organization perform at its best. We need HR to take that role because as HR, people experts are needed to help our line of business managers who don't get trained in these things. It doesn't come as natural to them. They need the coaching and the support to be able to bring human practices and people dynamics into their work. So I'm very excited about the future of HR, so much as it will evolve, like everything evolves, from human resources to human potential.
Okay. 10 years or 15 years down the line, which HR function cannot be outsourced?
I think that the nature of the internal consultant, the advocate, the coach, the champion, the expert on how to, what I say, rehumanize our businesses. We have to recognize that in most developed nations, the nature of the economic machine creates a certain mechanistic approach to enterprise. The second is that when you start focusing on technology and operations and strategy, we're moving away from the human element. And the last is the rise of artificial intelligence and machine learning and technology adoption. All of these things serve to dehumanize the work. What we need is we need our leaders at every level in partnership with our HR professionals to rehumanize it, to have the courage, the confidence, and the techniques to bring those humanistic management practices in a way that benefits the individual, but yes, benefits the business. Everything gets better. Everything gets better when we take a more human approach. We always get job performance because team commitment, team loyalty, these types of things go up, team collaboration, knowledge sharing, all these things get better when we create trust and safety and security and these types of things. So if we want the highest levels of job performance and company performance, if we want a highly engaged workforce, one that's healthy and well, and one that's prepared for the future, then we have to rehumanize our businesses. And that's where we need HR in particular.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you so much for your time. It's a wonderful